Awesome. I'm going to ask for some thumbs up or for Rodrigue to let me know if the screen is sharing. Cool. Awesome. So again, I'm not sure how much context everyone has. Like I said, we sent this link out to all of our channels. So we've collected a lot of people who either know us very well or who have never heard of OneBio Innovation Center before. I'm going to run through a very quick overview. I'm sorry if you guys have heard this many times. It's always good to get a refresher. So for those of you who don't know us, OneBio is kind of an umbrella term for a few different companies. OneBio first started as a fund manager. So OneBio Venture Studio is a private fund manager, separate company to where myself, Aaron, and Rodrigo are working. We're on the Innovation Center side. OneBio Innovation Center is a nonprofit, but essentially we're both working towards the same mission. We really want to de-risk and break down barriers for biotech startups in South Africa to be competitive on the global stage. So OneBio Venture Studio provides the funding, the mentorship networks, and they're going into venture building now. And then we complement this with a biotech startup ecosystem with a world-class lab, research facilities, and then the community to really make a bio-entrepreneurship community thrive. So as I said, we really are building a biotech innovation hub in the Western Cape, and we work really closely with biotech founders, researchers, and ecosystem partners. This includes both government, academia, independent research groups, as well as entrepreneurs who are not in science, but business or other tech ecosystems. And then to repeat it, we all have this vision. I'm sure everyone on this call really shares the same sentiment. We want to put South Africa on the map as a leading biotech hub. We believe we have the incredible talent and biodiversity and population diversity to really take the biotech kind of world by storm. So we're looking to enable world-class bioinnovation through three kind of pillars. As I said, we provide the facilities to do this, our world-class lab. For those who haven't visited it, hopefully you'll be able to come for a tour soon. We also provide specialized equipment for startups to share. And then we have, above and beyond the physical space, we have business support and a diverse network. Something we've really realized is creating this community of entrepreneurs is really essential to the success of any startup ecosystem. Just an overview of our lab facilities. So if you're a startup starting your R&D in our lab, you'll get a dedicated lab bay in our main lab, as well as access to our BSL-2 tissue culture, an additional microbiology suite, and then you get dedicated tabletop equipment, glassware, all of the basics, as well as shared specialized equipment between the different startup teams. And then our co-working offices are located right next to the lab, and this gives teams dedicated private offices, workspaces, and free entry to all of our events, as well as a community benefit of some internal events. And to mention a few that I'm sure hopefully many of you have seen or attended before, our monthly events include networking events, founder insights, expert deep dives, and then some internal events just for OBIC members. Running through a few of our startups for those of you who are not familiar with them. Aspire Foods, who are producing dairy proteins and plants. Biomine Health, they are a microbiome-derived biotech company, and they're first looking into immuno-oncology. Beefage, looking at the antimicrobial resistant crisis through precision therapeutics with bacteriophages. Bionuclex, looking at early detection of cancer. And then we also have two VC companies, as I mentioned, OneBio Venture Studio are located at our offices, as well as Savant. And this is really part of our model where we envision having biotech startups at our core and the OneBio Innovation Center being this connected to mentors, investors, partners, and ultimately being this hub for driving scientific research to commercial ventures. Cool. So that's a bit of an overview of us. If you do have more questions and you're not too familiar with OneBio, you can always reach out to us at our info email. Otherwise, you can contact myself, Erin, or Rodrigue and come for a tour and a meeting anytime. But why we're here today is a little bit more information about an initiative that we're starting this year. So the Biotech Commercialization Series, I'm sure you've seen a lot of our marketing being pushed out through our channels. We realized through our first year of operation last year that we can't really just wait for fully formed biotech startups to come through our doors. South Africa is, of course, a small ecosystem, and we really need to put a little bit more work into the early stages of what we call kind of commercialization literacy. So really shifting the mindset for academia and researchers, senior students to start thinking about bioentrepreneurship as a viable option. So we're piloting this year what we call the commercialization series. We haven't called it a program or an accelerator program, anything like that, because we want this to be basically real conversations with the experts in their field and give you direct access to this emerging biotech ecosystem. So I'm going to go through the basics of the program, and then you guys can ask more detailed questions at the end. Following this information session, we're also going to be sending out a lot more information through email and various other channels, so you can keep an eye out for that. So our goal is to really inspire and support more scientists to explore bioentrepreneurship and just to have direct access to the people making it happen so that you can start asking the right questions and meeting the right people. It is a free program, something that we are asking of participants because this is a free program and it's a trial year. We really want to go forward with this in coming years and tweak it and really build something that's going to have an impact in the local ecosystem. So we'll be doing feedback surveys and some kind of diagnostic surveys just to really understand who is out there, where's the talent, who is thinking about biotech ideas, what areas of interest, so across different sectors. And we ask that you please participate in those surveys. It'll give us valuable information to create more impactful programs going forward, as well as it helps us obviously access funding to continue doing this kind of work. And on that, we also really ask for engagement. So we often get very high, whenever you do a free program, you do get very high RSVP rates, but not high engagement rates. So we do ask that you do kind of dedicate yourself to this. It can be something very useful. So if you do RSVP to various webinars throughout the series, please ensure that you do your best to attend. And throughout the months, we'll be going from idea to startup. So we've really tried to create a conversation series which will take you on this path from kind of academic research all the way through to becoming a founder and going into kind of a commercial venture. I'll go through the timeline in a second. And as I said, this is really to gain practical hands-on skills and connections. So it's not it's not meant to be lecture-based or heavy coursework or theoretical-based. We really are just having these kind of engaging conversations, and you can directly ask questions with people during the sessions. So who's it for? I'll skip through this because I'm sure many of you will be in these groups of people. We're really targeting senior students, researchers, and early stage researchers and curious academics. So we're really trying to bridge that gap and build pipeline between the amazing scientific research that's coming out of our universities and trying to build these into industry. As I mentioned, so we'll be having online webinar series, and I'll get to the structure of that in a little bit more detail in a second. But it's going to be a hybrid between online webinar series as well as in-person events. I'm aware that many of you won't be in the Western Cape, which is why we did this hybrid format. So all of our conversations will be happening online, but then we'll have complimentary and optional in-person events, which will be networking events, meeting different team members, etc., and some site visits. So if you are in the Western Cape, you can sign up to attend those as well. And then towards the end, so the online webinar series will be running from June to November. But from November towards February, we'll take some of the most promising entrepreneurs or people who really do have an idea that they want to go forward with. We'll be creating an opportunity to pitch in February of 2027, so you can keep your eyes out for that as well. Okay, so hopefully I've made sense until now. This will really give you an idea of the program structure and schedule. So as I mentioned, this is online webinars with guest speakers, experts, and it'll be 2 sessions per month, and each month has its own topic. So right now we've been in our onboarding stage. We're coming to the end of our signups and participant onboarding. As I mentioned, after this, you'll get kind of the final sign-up sheet. And then next month, we kick off with our first sessions, and this will be founder insights and market-driven research. So we really try to structure this to take you through that journey from start to finish. So we'll be starting with hearing from early stage founders themselves who have really recently been through this journey from academia to startup. You'll hear from their experience firsthand, how they navigated either going through their tech transfer offices at different universities and how it was to transition out of academia into industry. You also hear about their experience with fundraising, etc. And this will give you an opportunity, obviously, to connect with them and hopefully build your network out if you're wanting to go into entrepreneurship. In that session, in June, we'll also be doing a market-driven research workshop where we really go into a problem solution fit and we talk about shifting your mindset from scientific novelty into more of a market-driven research understanding. We go into our second month. In July, we speak about finding the right team and refining your idea further. And again, you'll be hearing from guest speakers there. We'll have our team from venture studio side speaking about doing your own due diligence and how to really refine your idea and get it kind of investor ready. August, we go through funding pathways. We look at intro to different funding pathways, grants, and institutional support that you can access through your tech transfer offices, as well as VC deep dives. So you'll hear from some investors themselves. September, we speak about IP, understanding your IP, and again, working with your TTO if it is a university spinout. And then really try, and here you'll actually hear from legal experts, really understanding how to leverage your IP and the different structures that looks like. October, we'll be speaking about regulations in biotech. And we do know that, of course, biotech is a broad stroke. It's a very, there are many kind of sectors you could be working in. So we're going to do our best to get various experts on this from kind of medical industry, food industry, etc. And then hopefully you can join the session that is most relevant to you. And then towards November, hopefully this whole pathway will take you towards kind of understanding whether you do have an idea that you want to go forward with, or understanding if this is a path that you want to go into entrepreneurship. So towards November, we will be doing some pitch training and investor readiness, where you'll learn how to communicate your innovation effectively to different stakeholders. And this, along the way, this will be complemented with the in-person events that I'll get to in a second. And we hope for, at the end of the year, to have some in-person pitch refinement sessions where you'll be pitching to your peers. And hopefully this will get you ready for the big pitch that I mentioned, which will hopefully be in February. Well, I'm not sure if you guys know about the Sweat event that was this year. Hopefully there will be a second one in February of next year. And we're trying to collaborate with Sweat so that we can have it at the same event. We think that this will be a really diverse crowd and bring in a lot more investors. So it'll be on a big stage, really excited for there to be kind of real potential at the end of this process for you to go forward. So to mention some of our in-person events, we will have networking events throughout, so you can meet in person some other people that are on this program, as well as a lot of the guest speakers that you'll be hearing from, and some investors and researchers that are in the local ecosystem. Our Startup Stories series that we're already running, this is where we sit down over lunch and we chat directly to early stage founders to understand what they really are struggling with, some of their successes and some of their lessons along the way. And then we'll be piloting a new type of in-person event, which is Meet Your Co-Founder. Obviously, we realize that a lot of people who are joining this program don't necessarily have an idea yet. They're just curious about entrepreneurship and the emerging resources around that. So we want to have some sessions where you can meet like-minded people who are maybe in the same research as you or have complementary skills. So whether you're a scientist and you want someone who's more business-minded, we're going to try and do a kind of matchmaking session where you can form a team and potentially start brainstorming some ideas. And as I mentioned, we are planning some site visits. So to take you through to different startup labs, you'll of course have the opportunity to come and see our facilities. And then we're looking at some bigger industry partners to take you out to. Again, unfortunately, this is only an option for those based in the Western Cape. But you'll have an opportunity to sign up to those at a later stage. Then we'll have some peer-to-peer kind of roundtables and specific kind of deep dives into specific topics. And then the big pitch event at the end. So all of these in-person events are optional add-ons, and we'll ask people throughout the program to sign up to these separately from the webinar series. You don't have to, obviously, none of these are kind of compulsory. We do just ask that you engage a lot more in the webinar series. And then if you do have time for some of the in-person events, we think that it would really have an impact during this process. Okay, so that's the overview for now. Before I open up for questions, this QR code, hopefully you can scan it through your screens, but this will take you through to the early expression of interest form, which I hope many of you would probably have come through that form already. If you haven't signed up to it, though, please leave your information there because we'll be using everyone who signed up from there. We'll be sending out the final information for the onboarding survey, as well as all of the registration links for the webinar starting next month. And then going forward, every month, we'll be giving you some information about each speaker and all of the in-person events and site visits, etc. Perfect. So I hope for those who hadn't heard about this yet, I hope that this has all made sense. I'm going to open it up for questions in a second. I think most of the questions are going to have to be on chat. So if you open up your chat and ask some questions in there. Are there any questions? Rodrigue, I'm not sure if questions are coming through in my chat. Okay, Jordan, you asked, do you have a rough date for your next startup story? Yes, the next startup story, Rodrigue, please correct me if I'm wrong, is the 17th of June. 17th of June. So our next startup story is 17th of June, and that'll be by a startup called Oncoline, Louise Free. You can see all of this on our LinkedIn, but also through this expression of interest form, we'll be sending all of the information about our upcoming events directly to you. And those are in-person events, but we also do short recordings of the events and post them on our LinkedIn as well, so you can get a bit of an idea of all of the startups that we've been interviewing. And then you can also have a look on our website. We'll soon be posting all of our overview videos of our startup stories on our website, as well as our YouTube channel. Okay, any other questions? Jonathan, what would classify as a biotech company? This is a very layered question, but thank you. So we work, I mean, I think this is a bigger conversation to be had, but OneBio kind of works anywhere from diagnostics and therapeutics through to future food. So anyone working kind of in the life science research industry that overlaps with tech in some way, so computational or AI. But if you have a specific idea that you want to ask about, I would encourage you to email us separately and we can chat to you in more detail about that. Someone else asked, would this course be applicable to someone that already has an idea and would like refinement and investment opportunities? I think so, yes. And the good thing with this series, this is exactly why we're doing it. We're trying to cast the net really wide so that people who are both curious and don't really have an idea of what this pathway looks like can join in and just kind of increase their what we call commercialization literacy. So understand a little bit better about what the journey looks like. And then people who do already have an idea, hopefully there's an opportunity to meet a co-founder if you don't already have one, or if you're looking for more team members or different technical skills to complement your work. And then there'll be a lot of opportunities during the way to meet actual investors in the space, as well as meeting legal experts or other early stage founders who can potentially share resources, or you can join and be part of the community. So yes, there will be those opportunities. And as I mentioned, you can sign up to specific webinar series that are applicable to you. So you don't have to join all of them. We do ask you to engage with as many as possible. But you can kind of pick and choose which ones are relevant to you. And I didn't mention this, but something we're also working on is hopefully for individuals who do have an idea and a team and are looking to go forward with it, we're hopefully going to have an opportunity for some one-on-one mentoring. So after you've joined a session, if it was relevant to you and you want to follow on with one of those guest speakers, then you can sign up for that, and we will take some of the best ideas out there, and we'll hopefully match you with the guest speaker that you want to have a follow-on session with. David asked, will you also get some of the VCs to do a reverse pitch to the founders to help both parties calibrate their ideas? That is a great idea. I'll definitely take that on board. Yeah, that would be towards the end of the program. So potentially that could be at the final pitch event. That is something that the Sweat Africa event did this year. And I think that was quite useful just to see what VCs are out there and what they're looking for. So that's definitely something we'll take on board and consider. Thanks, David. Cool. Would the series be applicable to people who want to start their entrepreneurship startup journey? What about someone who's curious to work within the startup VC space? I think it is relevant. So I think all of these conversations will probably be relevant to anyone who wants to work in this emerging kind of biotech ecosystem. It is very small in South Africa at the moment, and I think these resources are starting to pop up now. So it's a really exciting time to be a part of all of this. So yeah, I definitely think it would be relevant to you if you're starting your entrepreneurship journey. Like I said, you don't have to have a fully formed idea yet. You can just be curious about bioentrepreneurship and want to start learning more. Or you can have an idea and you want to increase your network and have direct access to the guest speakers that will be on our series. And then what about someone who is curious to work within the startup VC space? Definitely, this is a great space to start. I think you'll meet a lot of people who are working in the space, and you'll hear from founders themselves, so you'll understand both perspectives really well. Great. Any other questions? I think that's kind of come to the end of the chat. Oh, I realized that I can actually pop up the question here, then everyone can see the question. So Stephen asked, the timeline you laid out for the year ahead is perhaps more protracted than might be ideal for some. Is there any avenue through which we could perhaps access an expedited version of the roadmap described? So we're going to be sending out a lot more detail about the schedule straight after this through the expression of interest form. So if you are signed up there, you'll get a lot more detail. And every month we'll give you more details about the guest speakers who will be joining us. It is also, I didn't want to say this because I think it'll discourage people from joining the live sessions, but we will be recording all of our sessions and we will be posting them on our website. So we will have a dedicated page that people can revisit if they missed something, if they weren't able to join one of the sessions. You can go back and you can rewatch some of the sessions. Is that kind of answering your question, Stephen? I hope so. David asked, sorry, it's not popping up on my screen now. Will you also get non-biotech companies, VC, and programs to come visit, as they bring a lot of common skill sets and solutions to problems that biotech often overlooks as we get too science-focused? Yes, David, we agree. So this is something that we've actually considered quite a lot, especially for the Meet Your Co-founder events. We do believe that we don't just need scientists in the biotech space, you do also need people from different industries. So we are working to expand our network quite a lot and bring in different skill sets. And from the VC perspective, definitely we'll try and get some VCs who are not just biotech specific focused. And then we'll get a lot of pitching and investor readiness talks from from people from different industries, not just within the biotech space. Awesome. We'll also have a lot of info sessions about opportunities, kind of follow on opportunities from the series. So, valuable international networks, as well as different longer form programs. So, accelerator programs that are in the space that some early stage founders have gone through, and they really vouch for those. So, it'll be a bit of a showcase of what is out there and the different avenues that can get you started in this kind of in your startup journey. Um, Cool. Will they also be, for example, from more established startups, identification of existing problems that need to be solved to give attendees ideas on viable startup ventures? That was from Justin. So, as I said, this is kind of a pilot this year. And we're really hoping that these sort of opportunities start coming up organically, which is why we're complementing with a lot of in-person events and kind of peer-to-peer conversations. So, and we hope that the kind of site visits to industry will also highlight some problems that'll give ideas on viable startup ventures. But the great thing about this, about kind of the OneBio ecosystem, is that we're also operating within a few other projects that are going on. So we hope that our intention with this is to build a pipeline of really talented individuals and scientists who are wanting to go into the entrepreneurial journey. Um, and hopefully that can feed into either the One Bio Venture Studio venture build, who are actively looking for new ideas and viable startups. So there will be a lot of opportunities, but this is exactly why we structured this series in the way that we did, so that opportunities can start popping up organically for people who are at different kind of points of their journey. So there might not be a structured way that we do this, but there'll definitely be a lot of opportunities for you to brainstorm or hear different ideas or speak to startups themselves, speak to hopefully more established companies themselves, as well as hear from VCs who are working in this kind of venture building space and actively looking for opportunities. And that's maybe worth noting too, like I said, because it is a pilot this year, it'll be the first time that we're doing this too. We really want you guys to engage and give us as much feedback and give us ideas on what you're looking for so that we can start implementing that. We're very open to implementing new sessions during the course of this year and trialing that. And then going forward from next year, it'll be a kind of 3-year rolling process, but we hope to refine it and introduce more ideas in the coming years from your suggestions. So please be very open to giving us your suggestions and your feedback along the way. We really are just trying to bring in more like-minded people and really understand where the talent and the ideas are that we can support. Awesome. So I'm gonna leave it for 2 more questions if anyone wants to pop things up in the chat. Um, So Stephen asked what my typical day looks like. I am going to ask you to email our info email, which can I pop it up on the screen? Rodrigue, can you do that from the background? Pop our info email up on the screen. Um, if anyone does want to come for a tour, obviously that'll be an opportunity during this whole series. But yes, you are welcome to email us and ask for an in-person meeting or come around to the lab and see our facilities for yourself. And then, Stephen, we can have a longer conversation about what my typical day at OneBio looks like. Thanks, Rodrigue. I hope everyone can see that, the innovation at info@innovation.onebio.africa. Awesome. Any more questions before I close this off? I'm going to wait 2 more minutes to see if questions pop up. Okay, David asked, what is the capacity of the course? So because of the way that we've structured it, that's the kind of webinar conversations. We really hope that we can kind of cast the net quite wide. So in full transparency, we've had about between 80 and 90 early registrants, which we do have capacity for. I mean, we kind of capped it at like 100 for the online sessions, and then obviously in-person sessions. That's why we will be doing separate signups for all of the in-person events and site visits. We're going to try and accommodate as many people as we can for those, but they'll be limited to obviously venue capacity, etc. But for the online sessions, it'll be close to 100. We don't expect that many people to attend every single session, but hopefully throughout the process, we'll at least have 100. Then someone asked, does the majority of startups have a wet lab component? Yes, our model definitely kind of facilitates for wet lab components, hence why we have the shared lab space. But there are a lot of startups who are working first on kind of computational side of things and haven't started in the lab yet. So you don't have to have a wet lab component, but yes, majority of the biotechs that we see do. Or are there some full tech startups in the biotech space? I think I kind of answered that question as well. Awesome. Cool. So if there are any more questions, feel free to email that info email. And as I mentioned, if you are signed up to this form, we'll be sending a lot more additional information and kicking off with introductions to our first guest speakers. We really hope that you guys find this useful. Like I said, our intention really is just to really build our network out and build this pipeline. We really want to get the momentum for biotech started in South Africa, hopefully starting from the Western Cape. And we hope that the format of doing this online will also spread the message a little bit further than the Western Cape. So yeah, keep a lookout, and please, like I said, give us all of your feedback or suggestions along the way. We really are doing this for you and for the community. So we hope to kind of create something that is useful for everyone. So thank you all for joining. We will see you on the first session next month, and keep an eye out on your email. We will be sending more information straight after this. Thanks, everyone. Bye.